It's a June 30th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with the latest weather updates here in the country. Southern parts of the country, including Jeju Island, will continue to see heavy downpours until Saturday. Summer heat will resume here in the capital region. The Yoon administration announced new names for key government posts in a major shakeup, including a new Unification Minister and an Olympic weightlifting gold medalist as a Vice Culture Minister. And South Korea advances to the Under-17 Asian Cup final after defeating Uzbekistan 1-0 in the semifinals. Team Korea will face Japan on Sunday. Southern parts of the country are still seeing torrential rain with heavy rain warnings issued there. The central region will have a break from much of the monsoon rain starting this afternoon. Our Kim Do-yeon starts us off.
In Yeongju City in Gyeongsang-buk-do Province, cars are buried in mud as heavy rain took down a pile of dirt from a nearby construction site. Luckily, nobody was injured in the incident, which occurred sometime between late Thursday night into early Friday morning, as the city saw more than 230 millimeters of rain in just 2 days as the season's monsoon takes hold of South Korea. As of 6:40 a.m. Friday, a heavy rain warning has been issued for southern regions of the country. Warnings are also issued for most of Jeollanam-do Province as well as for Gwangju City. Gwangju City has so far seen 400 millimeters of rain since the monsoon season began on June 25th. Parts of Jeollabuk-do, Gyeongsang-buk-do, Gyeongsangnam-do provinces and Jeju Island are under the warning as well. The Korea Meteorological Administration has forecasted 50 to 100 millimeters of rain for Jeollanam-do and Gyeongsangnam-do provinces, while Jeju is expected to see 100 to 200 millimeters on Friday. The capital region is expected to see significantly less precipitation. Landslide warnings are also in effect in the northern part of Gyeongsang-buk-do province as the earth has been weakened after days of torrential rain. While on Saturday, the country is expected to see some respite from the rain. Clouds are on their way from the south, and Jeju is expected to see monsoon rain again on Sunday. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
President Yoon's office on Thursday announced new names for key government posts in its major shakeup, hoping to add momentum for the administration's reform drive. Our top office correspondent Oh Soo-young has the details.
President Yoon Suk-yeol carried out his first major reshuffle of key government officials on Thursday, replacing 15 ministerial and vice ministerial positions, hoping to gain momentum in pushing through his key state policies, spanning inter-Korean relations to energy and labor reform. First, the administration announced its pick for Unification Minister who will handle inter-Korean affairs as Kim Young-ho, an expert in the field as an academic and an advisor to the government, with current South Korean ambassador to Thailand Moon Sung-yeon as his deputy. Another ministerial-level appointment is that of former prosecutor Kim Hong-il, with a legal background of around 40 years as the Commissioner for Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights. Among the 13 vice ministerial positions named, one standout pick is former Olympic weightlifting gold medalist Chang Mi-ran as the new Deputy Vice Culture Minister. Also notably, 5 key appointments were incumbent presidential secretaries, including the Secretary for Management Kim Ho-jin as the first Vice Land and Transport Minister, with Baek Won-guk as the deputy, expected to oversee housing policies. Also crossing over to the government as vice ministers are Park Sung-hoon for Oceans and Fisheries, In Sang-jun for Environment, and Cho Sung-kyung for Science and ICT. Other postings include current ambassador to Vietnam Oh Young-ju as Deputy Vice Foreign Minister, along with other deputies at the Finance, Startup, Labour and Agricultural Ministries, and the head of the National Human Resources Development Institute. Emphasising the word consistency, senior Yoon officials told reporters that the secretaries were assigned to their respective government roles based on their deep understanding of the administration's major policy drives, indicating a clear desire for closer coordination. The cabinet shake-up was also seen by observers as a move to coordinate and prepare for next year's general elections as key officials repositioned themselves to enter the race. Top Office spokesperson Kim Eun-ah says the president asked his new appointees to break down corrupt power relations and interest groups that hinder public interest.
Politics is about resolving current issues people face day to day and preparing for the future. In the process, reinforcing the values of fairness and rule of law as the starting point of justice for the people, that's been the direction of the Yoon administration consistently to this day.
As vice ministers can simply be named, they will take up their new roles from Monday, while the Unification Minister nominee goes through a separate hearing and confirmation process. Young, Arirang News.
In a much symbolic move to further reshape their bilateral ties, South Korea and Japan have agreed to bring back their currency swap for the first time in 8 years. Moon Hae-ryun has this report.
South Korea and Japan are resuming their currency swap pact after an 8-year pause. Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho and his Japanese counterpart Shunichi Suzuki held a bilateral meeting in Tokyo on Thursday to finalize the details. The amount set is $10 billion, relatively small in comparison to the $70 billion in 2011, before relations between the neighbors soured in 2015. However, experts say that this amount isn't set in stone.
It's likely that they will continue to increase the amount as economic cooperation between the two countries continues to strengthen in the future.
This comes amid improving diplomatic relations and with progress in other areas, such as with the restoration of both countries to each other's trade whitelists. Currency swaps between countries are typically agreements where currencies are lent for a certain period in times of emergency or to boost trade. This particular example secures dollar liquidity for South Korea, as Japan is set to provide US dollars. While there is no great need for South Korea to secure dollar liquidity, as its foreign reserves rank 9th in the world with a total of $421 billion as of May, this deal holds significance as it strengthens its financial safety net.
It also holds a lot of meaning as it marks a resumption of monetary cooperation between South Korea and Japan after its expiration back in 2015.
With this latest agreement reached between Seoul and Tokyo, watchers expect this to be a starting point for economic cooperation to flourish between not only South Korea and Japan, but also with the United States. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Despite higher interest rates, the U.S. economy showed a surprising durability, growing at 2% annual pace in the January to March period. The U.S. Commerce Department released the figure on Thursday, sharply upgrading its first quarter assessment of the nation's gross domestic product, the total output of goods and services, from the previous estimated annual rate of 1.3%. Despite the uptick, it still shows a slowdown from the 2 preceding quarters, largely due to a series of rate hikes aimed at curbing inflation. The Federal Reserve Chair has hinted at 2 more rate hikes to come, prompting concerns of a contraction in consumer spending, which accounts for 70% of the U.S. economy. The U.S. Supreme Court decided on Thursday that colleges and universities can no longer take race into consideration when it comes to admissions. President Biden slammed the decision, calling the court not normal. Lee Seung-ja reports.
The U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday ruled 6-3 that U.S. colleges and universities can no longer apply affirmative action as a specific basis for granting admission, meaning race can no longer be taken into consideration in tertiary level applications. The landmark decision reverses a decades-long precedent that benefited Black and Latino students when entering higher education. According to Chief Justice John Roberts, Harvard and University of North Carolina admissions programs violated the Equal Protection Clause as they failed to give measurable objectives to justify the use of race in admissions. He added that affirmative action programs in the 2 schools unavoidably employ race in a negative manner, involve racial stereotyping, and lack meaningful endpoints. While the majority opinion by the U.S. Supreme Court does not formally overturn affirmative action in higher education, it will make it virtually impossible for colleges and universities to take race into account for admissions from now on. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden criticized the latest decision by the Supreme Court, saying the decision walked away from decades of precedent, adding he strongly disagreed with the decision.
Today, the court once again walked away from decades of precedent and make, as the dissent has made clear. The dissent states in today's decision, quote, rolls back decades of precedent and momentous progress, end of quote. I agree with that statement from the dissent.
Despite the latest decision by the top court, Biden urged schools to continue considering racial adversity for applicants. He says discrimination still exists in America and that the Supreme Court ruling was a severe disappointment. The affirmative action ruling is the latest in recent reversals by the Supreme Court, including a ruling on abortion rights. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korea has advanced to the Under-17 Asian Cup final after beating Uzbekistan 1-0 in the semifinals. Playing at the Pathumthani Stadium on Thursday, the young Taeguk Warriors advanced to the final thanks to a 31st-minute free kick goal from Baek In-woo. And after Japan defeated Iran 3-0 in the other semifinal, the Korean squad will take on rivals Japan in Sunday's final at 9 p.m. Korea time. Now, the match will be the first time the countries have met in an Under-17 Asian Cup final. South Korea previously won the tournament in 1986 and 2002. There's a saying that eating seafood during hot and humid weather can cause uneasiness in our stomachs. But is this true? Should we avoid seafood during the summertime? For more on the summer diet and hygiene, we are joined by Dr. Yoo Byung-wook this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Good. Thanks for joining us. First off, is that true that we should try not to eat seafood during summer?
Well, this is half is true, half is not true. Because, the seafood, like a shellfish, is very good protein for our health. There are less cholesterol. Is very good food supply for the protein. But usually the hot and humid weather is the food goes bad very easily. But in Korea, our cold chain is good enough to control it. But the problem is, don't leave your refrigerator at home because we are take to go and bring that at home. We are keep in the refrigerator too long. Sometimes it go badly. But usually in the cold chain, in the restaurant, is good enough and clean enough, and there are hygiene enough to provide to us and good. But usually we can say in the better people like pregnant women and the youngers and the aged people, better to not eat much in the seafood during the hot summer. But in Korea, our cold chain system is good enough to keep on good health.
That's a relief as much of a seafood fan throughout all season. So it is safe to eat seafood as long as it's been kept cool enough and clean enough, right?
Absolutely.
Then also let's talk about bottled stuff, water or even cold bottled beverage, because it becomes an essential item to carry on in the summertime, right? But just after one drink, the bottle becomes immediately exposed to germs and bacteria. I mean, doctor, is that so? I mean, how many varieties of germs and bacteria are there?
Very good questions, because that's why I prepared one bottle. So usually we have a drink like this directly the mouth. The problem is, so whenever we just open the tap, immediately start to get contaminated. But our stomach, stomach juice is acid, is strong enough to kill the germ. The problem is, when time goes, we have very interesting experimental. After just open the bottles of tap, 1 hour later, 40,000 germs can be incubated in hot summertime.
Wow.
So if we use the straw means is the opening on one of the channel and the germ in the air go into the cup and the bottle. Oh, surprise.
Yeah.
So that's why I suggest use the not disposable cup. So you're because of our hygiene and save our earth, using your private cup, it pour the water, using that, this is better. But if you couldn't bring your private cup, open the tap of the bottled water, immediately you are drinking and throw away, especially in hot summer, please.
I see. So using your private cups like tumblers is the best way to drink in the summertime, just not for our stomachs, but also for the environment.
Absolutely. Save us.
Right. Then we all know how important it is to wear sunscreen under the hot weather. What's the best way to apply sun protection cream? I mean, how often should we apply? And, you know, there's a number, SPF and PA. What are those numbers mean?
Well, my mom said when I was young, "Oh boy, don't forget the sunscreen." And so higher is better. So this will be true, 100%. But let me say there are some true SPF, some protective factor, which is protect for ultraviolet B. So actually more than 15, that's enough. So we have one funny story. If you walk in the hiking in the mountain, so you don't need a full package for the climb mountain in the Himalaya in Nepal. So which means you don't need a full equip. So more than 15 of SPF, that's enough. But very good question, how often? It's like hot summer, we are sweating some. So even start to the indoor, put the sunscreen, and every 2 hours, I highly recommend it. Oh, what is the PA? PA, because there are SPF and PA plus something. PA means protect, guiding against ultraviolet A. Oh, so SPF for ultraviolet B, PA for ultraviolet A. Actually, the both are very important, protect your skin. So, but high number and double plus or triple plus, it doesn't matter. Keep on your sunscreen often, even the indoor in hot summer, please.
Right. So higher the number, but it doesn't have to be too high as long as it's higher than the number 15, right?
Yeah, 15, that enough.
Then before we let you go, Doctor, can you share one last piece of advice on how to survive this summer strong and healthy?
Well, keep hydrating, drink water, and please check your color of the urine, because if the frequency of the urine, the P is less, so it's kind of red card your health. Keep hydrating. Also, look around your minority group. Because Korea, we have to take care of the minority group. They cannot have enough for air conditioning and the cold chain system. So the Korean societies, we are hot and warm more than this hot summer. Please to take care of yourself as well. Look around your minority group in our society.
Right. Not only taking care of ourselves, but also those who are around us, especially in the hot summertime. All right. Thank you so much for all the tips this morning. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, I'm Matthew Ashley, and we now turn over to stories from around the world. We begin in Russia, where sources quoted by the Associated Press say that a top general has been arrested following the uprising by the mercenary Wagner Group, which was aborted on Saturday. Now, the person reportedly detained is General Sergei Surovikin, the deputy commander of the Russian group of forces fighting in Ukraine. It's not known what charges he faces or where he has been detained. But the military leader is reported to have known about Wagner's plans to stage the insurrection days before it happened. He's also said to have had long-time links with Yevgeny Prigozhin, leader of the mercenary group. Surovikin, known as General Armageddon for his brutal tactics, initially led strikes on Ukraine's infrastructure, but was later replaced by General Valery Gerasimov. Gerasimov's whereabouts is also unknown, as he has disappeared from public view since the aborted mutiny. Moving on to health, the World Health Organization's Cancer Research Division appears set to list one of the world's most widely used artificial sweeteners as a possible carcinogen. A report by Reuters news agency says that aspartame will be added under the designation possibly carcinogenic to humans, as there is some limited evidence linking aspartame to cancer. Now, the title is the least serious categorization in the WHO's three-tier carcinogen warning system. The WHO has been previously criticized for publishing confusing assessments and creating panic over ingredients that can be difficult to avoid. Aspartame is found in products such as diet sodas, bottled teas, and chewing gum. Now, turning our attention upwards, Virgin Galactic joined the space tourism industry on Thursday after successfully launching its first commercial flight. Taking to the skies above the New Mexico desert in a spacecraft called Unity, the company's first paid voyage carried 3 Italians who wished to conduct experiments in zero-gravity conditions. The achievement is nearly 20 years in the making, since founder Sir Richard Branson started the company in 2004. He is now aiming to send the roughly 800 people who have already bought tickets into space. In contrast to competitors SpaceX and Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic sends its passengers into space by launching its spacecraft from beneath the wing of a larger plane whilst in the air. And finally, for the first time, astronomers have heard the low-frequency humming of large gravitational waves that are moving through the universe. They managed the feat by measuring light across a galaxy-wide array of flashing pulsar stars, which are spinning remains of exploded stars. The discovery, which was announced on Wednesday, took a decade, requiring collaboration between researchers based all over the world. It's theorized that the waves started soon after the Big Bang and are emerging from pairs of supermassive black holes that weigh as much as a billion suns and are spread throughout the universe. Now, the long-awaited find was made difficult by the waves' faint nature and the fact that they vibrate at timescales that are decades long.
Good morning. Rain has eased in the capital area with just a sprinkle, but certain parts of the country are soaked with intense rainfall with 30 to 60 millimeters of an hour of rain to pound down through tomorrow dawn. So a heavy rain advisory is in place for parts of Jeollado and Gyeongsang-do provinces in Jeju Island. Authorities have warned of the risk of flash floods and landslides there. And until tomorrow, Jeju could see more than 250 millimeters, and Jeollanam-do and Gyeongsang-namdo provinces could see 150 millimeters of showers. Meanwhile, central regions will receive another bout of rain in the afternoon. But afternoon highs in central areas will go up 3 to 5 degrees higher than yesterday, topping out at 31 degrees Celsius here in the capital, similar to slightly lower in the south with a high of 28 degrees in Daegu along with showers. Now, all the regions will get a break from monsoon rain by Saturday afternoon, but sweaty temperatures set in with tropical nights to appear. Then the monsoonal front returns on Sunday to Jeju Island. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. Stay safe wherever you are.